Throughout the ages, civilizations have spoken of a great flood, an existential threat that required the people to build something new to save humanity. Today, the climate crisis has become the flood of our times.
The flood, I think it kind of represents a future that you kind of don't want to look at. Obviously, a flood, it sounds like a very scary thing, a very catastrophic, dark thing.
The flood to me is anything that means most of the earth gets ruined from a human point of view. In fact, we know the earth will survive most things, it's just that will the humans on it and the animals survive?
The flood to me is all of the different consequences of past, present or future inaction on climate change. That could be things like severe weather events, flooding, heat waves, storms, droughts, famines, mass migration, potentially conflict, those kind of things.
Well, I'm actually quite a hopeful person, so I don't want to believe that the flood means the end of the world as we know it, because I have hope for humanity, and I think when we're up against it, I think we often find ways of kind of coming out of things. But undoubtedly, nature is under attack and there's a huge climate crisis and people are going to have to adapt.
I think both residents and businesses are absolutely vital if we're to reach our goals of being a net zero district by 2038. So residents could do things, for example, shifting to solar or heat pumps in their homes, taking up opportunities for better insulation where they are. Role modelling good behaviour or changed behaviour is a massively important thing.
ARK Bradford is a citywide conversation about the climate crisis. Its aim is to invite people to think about what the flood means to them and how we might create an ARK in response to the many challenges that we face. In this film, we see what residents of Bradford are doing to address the modern flood, starting with fossil-free West Yorkshire.
Well, I'm part of a group that lobbies outside the West Yorkshire Pension Fund headquarters in Bradford every week to remind them that not only should they just say they're going to divest from fossil fuels, but they should actually divest entirely from them, which they're not doing at the moment.
And we've seen this can be really successful. I think because money talks, we know we've got to move on from fossil fuels, but as a society we're so sort of embedded with fossil fuels that divestment's, I think, a way of demonstrating publicly, look, we can.
A pension fund, their job is to look after the money of people who work. They gather all this money and then they have to invest it, and so they need to choose investments which will give them a good return on the money. And in the past they've invested in coal, they've invested in oil and got good return for the money, so they argue that they must continue to do this, but we're trying to persuade them that investing in fossil fuels, although at the moment they might be getting a good return, in the future they definitely won't.
Yeah, the vigil will happen every Friday, no matter what day it is, bank holiday, Good Friday, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. It'll be 3 years this coming December. And at first we thought we're having no impact, but then West Yorkshire Pension Fund themselves have come out with a statement about 6 months ago to say that they were stopping all new investment in fossil fuels.
So we were really, really excited about that. The fund did say that they're going to invest more in sustainable transport, in energy efficient housing. So, we're really excited about that. We're absolutely delighted that they've taken that change, and we hope they now do what's called divest the rest. I mean, it's sort of an opportunity, I suppose, to have fun, because I think people feel really serious about climate, and one thing we've tried to do is actually have a good time, when we're campaigning. So just recently we had a tug of war in the city centre with the city hall behind us, and that was quite good fun. A load of people dressed up as fossil fuel barons and kind of acted out the part, and they really got into it. So I think to have been part of actions like that and to have been inspired by others in the campaign has been a real privilege and very exciting. I think I would love to think that we could have a world that is as safe as possible, as healthy as possible. We talk about sort of a livable future for all. I'd like to think we could still get there, before it's too late. We have these warnings now that this could be kind of the end of humanity, really, the end of civilization as we know it. So that maybe can be like a wake-up call for us to really go for, something brilliant for everybody. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing?
Other citizens have been using arts and culture to start a conversation about climate change. and to promote active travel. Bradford music scene is getting people moving by giving them a tour of the musical history of Bradford.
So today we were leading Bradford Music Scene Heritage Tour. So it was talking about all the different music of the past in Bradford and all the different venues.
Stop 1, the Alhambra. We begin at the magnificent Alhambra Theatre, a cultural Bradford landmark for over a century. It was owned by Francis Laidler, who later became known as the King of Pantomime, and who already owns 2 music halls in Bradford.
So Bradford has got a rich music heritage. We've had loads of different touring artists over the many years coming in and out of Bradford. We've got a large selection of artists from Bradford as well that have done really well successfully. Zayn Malik, we've got Kiki D, the Terrorvision, we've got Kimberly Walsh and loads of others as well.
Frederick Theodore Albert Delius was a composer born in Bradford in 1862. The Delius composition you are about to hear is titled Song of Summer and was completed in 1934.
As ever, it was lovely just to be out and walking through the city, because I don't come to the town centre that much, and you often forget how beautiful it is in places, and it's just really nice just to stroll around and see some of the architecture, while also learning along the way, which is fascinating. Like the amount of artists, particularly in like the 70s and 80s, that played in Bradford's just insane. And also there was a section about 9 famous people from Bradford. A lot of them were people I'd not heard of, but have clearly had a massive impact on the music industry.
So nowadays, so many people drive about everywhere, so they don't always see what's around them. So we thought a walking tour, it just really gives you that little bit of time just to stop, just to find out a little bit of history about the buildings and the people that visited. Gives you a new angle on things.
At the Make Your Mark session, organised by Rachel Dennis, passers-by in the park were invited to think about the space they occupy and take part in creating art inspired by the nature around them.
Yeah, the idea around it is taking note of the space that's around you. We're really fortunate in Bradford to have lots of different outdoor spaces, so we thought it was a good chance to explore one of the district parks, and it's an invitation to play while we're exploring that space, making moves of the journey to get there, making moves around the space while we're there and making marks along that way. One of the core things of 50 Things is that we do activities and things that are accessible and open to all, and part of that is using things that are low cost or no cost. So where we can, we'll recover, salvage, recycle, reuse things. We were fortunate to have a contact with somebody that was getting rid of quite a lot of paper, some of it new, so we are always finding ways to repurpose things like that. For this particular occasion, we've got giant rolls of paper that will be really good for making some marks on, and it gives us something that's not your usual kind of thing that you would do. 50 Things to Do is all about being playful, understanding the importance that adults can play in that role for children, so it offers children the opportunity to explore play with the adults in their life, and whether that's a parent or a carer, a practitioner, an older sibling or some of their extended family. 50 Things to Do kind of gives you playful prompts to do that. And then what we've realised is it also helps parents to build confidence in that, because it might be a while since the last time they played or did something playful, but it's a really great way to learn things and also to build connection, to build language and to build life experiences. We're really excited. Again, we've got some really good weather for this. It's quite a participant-led session, so it'll be interesting to see which direction we go in the park.
Getting people thinking about the environment is the first step to help saving it. At Mind the Gap in Bradford, Kelly Hamilton runs a nature-inspired art class to get people thinking about what we may lose if climate change goes unchecked.
So the idea for the session today was to do a workshop around using petals to kind of create watercolour, to do your own watercolour paintings from like a really natural, sustainable way. But creating watercolours from petals take a very long time, so we kind of did that half and half. We used regular watercolours and then everyone had to go at making their own like natural watercolour from petals, and I centred what we would paint around movement in nature. So there was a lot of like oceans and rivers and suns insects and bees pollinating flowers, birds migrating, just like, yeah, we really honed in on like movement within nature, and then people kind of used reference pictures and painted from that, or just took their own inspiration and just thought about what movement within nature means to them. And yeah, everyone made really amazing, lovely paintings, and at the end we kind of went around and I asked everybody what from nature they would want to bring into the future, like what single thing is the thing that they would want to carry forward. And people said like really wholesome, lovely, lovely things. Kind of say one thing from nature that you would bring into the future.
Sunset and butterflies.
Sunsets and butterflies.
I'd like to bring the beach.
Lovely. So Mind the Gap is a performing arts studio in Bradford. They work with disabled people and like give people the opportunity to do dance, music, theatre, and yeah, it's just such a lovely space of just like the most wonderful people coming together to do art, and I've loved working with them in the past, and yeah, I love working with them today as well. What today kind of honed in on thinking about what's important to you and bringing that into the future, and like hopefully that's the kind of thing that would motivate people if they really started seeing the things that we could lose today that are just so normal, like that not being in the future. So just like a lot more self-awareness, general awareness about kind of the things that are being destroyed just because we're not taking care of the planet.
Cycling is an important form of active travel. At the City of Cycling building, Cecil Green Arts are running workshops to make cycling fun.
Cecil Green Arts is a company based in West Yorkshire, and we make puppets and illuminated puppets. We hold street parades and create street theatre.
So we've been making puppet heads with people. We're having a creature puppet parade later in the summer in Keighley, in a park in Keighley, and alongside a great get-together event and a kind of council play day. So it'll be a big celebration, community celebration. And we're making kind of creatures out of cardboard and quite simple materials, just to have a bit of fun together and to symbolise that kind of bikes and scooters and that kind of thing can be fun, and we can create art around anything. The meaning underneath it all is a bit about promoting active travel.
Because we're puppeteers, we are creating puppets that we can put onto bikes. So we're turning our bikes into puppets. I've always been a cyclist. I think cycling is by far the best way of getting around the city. Why would I encourage cycling? Because I really enjoy it.
So this is my attempt at my puppet so far. So you can see it's kind of like in the first stages. It's kind of loosely based around a kind of dragon. Somebody said it looks like a cross between a dragon and a donkey. At the moment this is just the basic structure, and then I'll paint it and decorate it so it looks a bit more like a puppet. Well, I think active travel keeps people fitter, healthier, conversation happens. And we've done some work around encouraging school children to actively travel to school, and there's loads of different things, apart from obviously reducing air pollution and the environmental impact of cars. There's all the other things where people start talking to each other, people start talking to their neighbours more, or the kind of mums and families and dads walking along the street just kind of relate to each other more.
Community is key in creating long-term solutions to climate change. At Cliff Castle in Keighley, Photo Hub North and Impressions Gallery have set up an eco-fest to invite people to take part in environmental activities.
So today the event has been Creative Earth Eco-Fest. That kind of came about from last year. I launched a network called Creative Earth Network, and that unites everybody from around the world that's working in sustainable photography and art. And as part of that, I decided to run this festival today. There's been art activities, photography activities and wellbeing activities. So in the photography area, we've had cyanotypes, anthotypes, zine making, and we've had a pop-up dark room where people have been printing with plant-based developers. Then we've had art activities like creating big sculptures out of found objects, and there's been Happazone printing with plants and things like that. So I'm the founder and director of Photo Hub North, and we are a social enterprise that gives the community access to photography workshops and facilities. When we came up with this idea, we really wanted to have a finale as a big parade, because the whole point of this festival is to bring people together, bring different communities together that maybe ordinarily wouldn't mix in the same circles, and just to unite everybody under that shared vision of like being more sustainable, more environmentally friendly, and allowing people to think this is something that they can do in their lives. So the idea was the parade was kind of the unification of everybody's shared values and people in the community in like one joyful celebration with music and dancing. The ARK for me would be something like these events. It's an event where people can come together in a really joyful and wonderful and positive way to understand how they can help and how working together they can make the change, and they can, you know, push back on some of those like changes that are kind of impacting us all. But basically the ARK is a beautiful shared space where people can come together and be educated, share their opinions, share their knowledge, and together just make us a stronger like group.
So the ARK for me be the solutions that we know already are out there and just need to kind of take those steps, as well as the solutions we haven't yet developed, things that technology or nature-based solutions that we're not yet aware would work and help us to save everybody, and by that I mean humans and all of the species.
So it's a haven, maybe a collection of different ideas or different prompts that will help people to think about that.
So the ARK to me sounds like, you know, a safe place that we can protect humanity and all life on Earth.
When I visualise an ARK, it's like a really huge thing that brings people from all around the world together. So for me, it really represents like a community coming together, but like a community as the world, like coming together to build something that gets us through a really dark period. And it's really about people.